Gregory, I'm sure I'm the umpteenth person to sit here and begin an interview by telling you how absolutely marvelous you are in this film.
Thank you. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
you're just one of the best things in the film, really.
Thank you.
I shouldn't be at all surprised if, now, I shouldn't say this because maybe you're superstitious, but come Oscar time, I wouldn't be surprised if your name kind of was dropped in there someplace.
Well, that's very nice of you to say.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Really good. I wonder, of course, your brother Maurice is in this with you, and you're playing two brothers. Good casting there. But I'm wondering, the relationship of the two brothers when they become estranged in the movie, has that ever happened in real life?
No. I mean, my brother and I, you know, we've had our differences, but we never had a period where we were really hostile towards one another. My brother and I, we had an act together from the time we were small infants, practically. And then when we got to be, I guess I was about 27, when we split up, it was painful, and it was very difficult, but we almost immediately began to get closer as brothers, because there was no need for us to be together anymore except because we wanted to. And in fact, we lived together for about 6 months afterwards. And it in some ways, reaffirmed how we felt about splitting up, because at the time we split up, it seemed to me the only way to keep our relationship as brothers. So it was never like the Williams brothers, but in doing the scene where the Williams brothers split up and then reunite later on, Francis was able to help us get in touch with some of the feelings that were real from our own experience, and I felt like it was, you know, and also my parents were there, our parents were there, they were off camera, and oh, it was so much emotion, you know, that I felt like it was one of the more successful scenes for us.
Was any of it improvised, any of that scene, especially right at the end where you hug one another?
Well, before we began shooting, we had a 3-week rehearsal period where we did, I would say, more than half of that was improvised, trying to find the moments and the motivations. And in that rehearsal period, we improvised the reuniting scene totally. So there was a lot of that culled from the rehearsal for the final print of the film. But there was so much improvisation. You know, the scene between Bob Hoskins and Fred Gwynne around the watch. You know,
yes.
I mean, that was a totally improvised scene in rehearsal that they just refined it for the final shooting.
There, of course, was so much turmoil connected with this picture. Did that ever really get in the way of your work? In other words, did it just get to the point where you thought, I just can't go on?
No. You know, as an artist, and that's the way Francis sets things up, that the artists, the people who are going to be doing the creative work, in some ways he tries to shield us from all that, because it's very difficult to do that work. I had a lot to do. You know, if I wasn't singing or dancing or acting, I was doing some choreography, or I was involved in the casting. And at the time in my own life, my wife and I had just had a new baby, and you know, there just wasn't any spare energy to be concerned with something that really was beyond me. I knew that, I felt that we were onto something. After we were shooting for about 3 weeks, I felt like maybe we were going to touch something. And at that point, I just totally immersed myself in the Cotton Club movie.
Would you work for Coppola again?
Today. I mean, I'm just finishing a movie now, but, oh yeah. I just fell in love with the guy.
But it was very difficult. Like at one point, Gere walked off for a week, and people were just having a tough time getting through it. But you're saying that you just could roll with it?
Well, you know, everybody rolled with it. You know, it's to make a movie, it's such a collaborative effort. You know, there's so much involved with just saying action, So many people have to do their jobs, and we're all human beings, and it was, we had some difficulties. But I think everybody wanted to make the movie, and I think anybody that left for a little while because of whatever reasons, emotional or business or whatever, they wanted to come back. A lot of times you read about baseball players who say, well, I want more money and I'm not going to report to camp. But ultimately what they want to do is they want to play baseball. So they work it out. And I felt like people who were in the movie wanted to be in the movie. I felt like Francis wanted to do the movie, and I felt like all the actors and the people wanted to make it happen. And that's what collaboration is about. It was such a, it felt so righteous, the effort.
Very quickly, I just want to touch upon this one thing, Gregory, and that is that you practically had to beg Bob Evans to give you the role.
Well, I hounded him is what I did. I can't say I begged him. I just, every time he looked around, I was there trying to explain to him that I was the right man for the job.
Who did he want? Because I don't see anybody else in it except you.
Well, originally it was a different story. What you saw is between 30 and 40 working scripts that Francis put together and Bill Kennedy. But the other story, I think the original people were Richard Pryor and Sylvester Stallone. Now, certainly, if Robert Evans was going to do a movie, he could raise a lot of money on the name Richard Pryor.
But Richard Pryor can't tap dance.
Well, that character wasn't tap dancing. That original character, he wasn't a tap dancer.
Gregory, we're out of time, but again, congratulations on a really super performance, and I look forward to talking with you again sometime. I've followed your career for a long time. Hines and Dad, I know all about that.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you so
Pleasure
much.
talking to you, too.
Okay. The rivalry the two brothers have in the movie, was there ever any sort of thing like that between you and your brother Maurice? Was any of that scene improvised, especially the part at the end where you hug one another? There was so much turmoil connected with this picture. How did you react to that? Did the turmoil ever get in the way of what you were trying to do as an actor? Is it true you had to almost beg Bob Evans for this role? Now I'll just give you reactions. Okay. All right.